Yo,
what's up?
What's going on, guys? What's going on? How y'all doing this evening?
Ooh, man, happy Wednesday to you.
Happy Wednesday indeed, guys. Real quick, I have some breaking news. I have some late breaking news we have to get to real quick.
What's that? What's that?
So you got to give me just a second to get it pulled up. But yeah, no, I have some breaking news for us, guys. It's actually going to be really entertaining.
I hope this is a ticket stub for the big game this weekend. I hope that's what you're showing us right now.
You know, I hope that's what I was showing us too. But honestly, it's not.
No.
Last time, Kansas beat Iowa State right here in Lawrence. It was in 2014.
Oh, man.
The 5-0 Kansas Jayhawks, guys. The 5-0 Kansas Jayhawks. I saw that earlier, and I was like, yo, the social media department for Kansas football needs a raise.
Aaron Judge all week, huh? I mean, I think that was like the highlight, or that's like one of the big storylines from the college football weekend was all the Aaron Judge cut-ins. My goodness.
And
glad
it was
he finally
like
got
last
there.
week too. Like, God bless, you know, it's just been Aaron Judge, you know, and it was just like, I'm so glad he finally hit it, you know, congrats. You know, you're still not the all-time home run king, but we're not here to talk about baseball. You know, we're not.
Nah.
But yeah, no, that was, I saw that and I was like, wow, that's just fantastic. So let's swing into
folks
it.
are going to have withdrawals this week, not getting to see him.
They are.
I'll be
and
okay.
I hate the fact that has no audio, but here we are. Man, it was a good week of football.
It was a great week. My big takeaway from this week, and if we were doing stock up, stock down, this is where it would slide in. But for me, it's Dabo is looking pretty good right now. And I say that for a couple of reasons. Obviously, big win, right? But look at what his assistants are doing right now, right? Venables at Oklahoma got destroyed by TCU.
Goodness.
Tony Elliott at Virginia got destroyed by Duke this weekend. So all the talk, and I'm guilty of it. I'm sure y'all said it too, right?
Yep.
What can Dabo do without his assistant coaches? Well, look what they're doing right now, and look what he's doing. He just kind of picked it back up. So he's answered that so far. Obviously, it's still, 5 games in, but so far Dabo is sitting pretty in 2022.
Man, he's looking good. Yeah, you know what's funny is I've been a Dabo hater for a while, and after that first week, it's like I've literally been picking against Clemson the whole time. Picking against him, and he just keeps shutting me up. So,
yep,
man, UVA, man, them in general. We don't have to get into sad state of affairs, but goodness gracious, man, that's brutal up that way. And then Venables, man, I think a lot of people put in to give him. The cupboard was a little more bare than I think folks were believing coming into that situation. But man, heck, I know we'll talk about it later, but Oklahoma is an underdog to Texas. That's wild.
Yep.
No offense.
No, what's funny is I would have never honestly thought that coming into the year. I thought we'd have a decent team, but I don't think it's necessarily Texas having a decent team as it more so is Oklahoma looking as bad as they've looked, honestly. So that's where I'm at with that, in all honesty. Oklahoma.
But overall, the top teams still have been pretty strong, minus Georgia. What do you guys make out of it? 2 weeks back to back. I don't think the Kent game mattered too much to me. It's one of those letdown spots. Who really cares? There's never really in doubt. But this past weekend, they were lucky to survive that game.
Man, you know what they say, one game's a one-off, 2 games is a trend. I mean, like the defense has lacked teeth. I mean, the defense was getting gashed at times by Mizzou. Like it wasn't a shootout, but they were moving the ball on them. And then you look at the other side of the ball, they just couldn't kind of get it into gear. So it'd be interesting, you know, if it was a team other than Auburn this weekend of how that'll go. But they're certainly scuffling and I think deserving to drop in the ranks.
I think the big thing is like Georgia came out so dead. Like, and if you're the number 1 team in the country, there's no excuse for that, you know, especially when you're playing Missouri, who really, honestly, let's be honest, is an inferior SEC school and really an inferior opponent, especially on the schedule. You know, for them to come out just absolutely dreadful, I mean, there was no excuse for it. I think the voters did right to flip Bama and Georgia in the rankings this week because, I mean, you know, we'll talk about it, but, you know, Bama. Bama. That's all I can say about that, man. Bama.
Well,
really
I mean,
just.
I told you that I thought they would turn it on, but more so is Arkansas's defense. I mean, that secondary is not very good right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, the big storyline is Bryce Young. Will he? You know, I think he'll play this weekend, and he'll hang in and just try to survive the season and probably be fine. But it's also now like there's pressure on the offensive line to keep him upright. You have no room for error now at this point with him. So we'll see. But Milroe's like a freak athlete back there. And we talk about kids getting out of Texas and like the recruiting that Texas needs to pick up on. Like he's one of those kids. Like he's just a freak athlete that obviously is more of a Jalen Hurts type in that system, but Joe's so fast, so strong, and so powerful. Doesn't need to throw the ball that much, but we'll see. It was a really good win, but it now just kind of opens the door to like, okay, can they maintain this being banged up?
And his big run there, you know, like that was kind of the turning point in that game of kind of the momentum change. Yeah, that ripped off 70-80 yarder. And, you know, shout out Spend there, you know, he, you know, back to Georgia, that week 1 overreaction. You know, all of us came out of that week 1 saying Georgia's the greatest team of all time. Oregon is horrible. Yeah. And storylines since then have kind of, you know, not been the case. Oregon might be, you know, my Ducks, you know, might be a little bit better than we thought. And UGA might be a little worse. So,
you know, I'd like to point out, though, Ben, like in the third quarter, when Arkansas started out, you know, they came out of the gate, they scored those 16 points. Like, did you pucker up a little bit? Did you think, oh, here we go? Like, this is, you know, we might honestly be looking at an upset? Because honestly, I got up from my computer and went and turned it on in the living room because I was still doing some work in here. And I was like, yo, I'm putting this on in the living room. And then all of a sudden, Alabama just turns it on. And I was just like, well, I mean, this was pointless for me to get up. But
nah, I mean, there was probably a point that I was like, okay, if Alabama doesn't respond here, then maybe I'll be a little concerned. But obviously with injuries and stuff, there was still kind of like, okay, it's possible. But to me, and I think I said this in Discord, like when I think the live line got to like 28.5 or 20, something like that, 24.5. And I was like, this is probably a good spot for Arkansas because there's a good chance Bama's just trying to get out of this game. Just finish it up, get it over with. And then Arkansas climbed back and then boom, they turned it on and just kind of put it away. But I was never too worried. If they didn't respond and made it a 1-score game, potentially, like if it got tight, but Arkansas, when you don't have a defense and you can't slow a team down when you need to, it doesn't worry you too much if your offense is high powered. So it's kind of
no, I mean, you're spot on.
What's the word on Bryce? Is there a timeline on that or?
Don't ask Coach Saban what he thinks about packages and whatnot. But no, I don't think they've confirmed. At least the last I checked, hadn't confirmed anything. But I mean, I think he plays. I think we'll probably see a little bit of both guys. But I think he plays until he gets hurt. I mean, there's no reason to hold him out this game. Obviously, this month is going to be tough for him. So if he can go, he's got to go. And I think this week he will. You know, if he doesn't play, it tells me that Nick feels pretty comfortable about that matchup with A&M. If he doesn't run Bryce out there, he feels pretty good about where he stands with
man. I feel like Bama could run like the triple option in this game if they wanted to. Just pound it right down the middle.
A&M. Brutal.
Look. Hold on. Just look. Let me handle A&M. Let me handle A&M in a little bit. I've got some things to say. Shout out to Ford Train Casey. I won't leave the office next time. Chad, what's going on? Put Tebow in. Put Tebow in. Get out of here. No, I actually want to bring up our picks from last week. I mean, good Lord, the amount of red that is on our side.
We got a border. We're boarding these picks with the red.
God bless.
I've said it every week. Like, don't judge me by these picks. It's tough making these games, and especially on a Wednesday. But yeah, I didn't feel bad about these games, but probably there weren't really any big surprises. Maybe Baylor. I told you the whole time I don't know why I'm taking Florida State. I said I don't trust them, but it was the last second I flipped my pick, and they did exactly what I thought they did. But I guess UCLA is probably maybe the nicest win. They surprised us.
I mean, let's be honest. That UCLA game. I mean, UCLA came out there and
they were humming.
They did what they wanted to do, and I can't think of the quarterback's name for UCLA. I got to pull his name up real quick. Yeah,
DTR.
Yeah, DTR. He looked good. He looked really, really good this week. And can we talk about how Chip Kelly is undefeated?
Jeez, man.
Chip Kelly in 2022 is undefeated.
I'd love to see UCLA USC matchup where they're both undefeated. I don't think we'll get there, but
that'd be incredible, honestly.
But they're playing well, and that was a really good performance by them. And I'll talk a little bit more about them a little bit later on. We'll tease for picks later on, but I just thought, like, I didn't expect them to show up as well as they did, but they delivered. And Kentucky should have won that game outright.
Yeah.
It was
brutal.
I mean, that's got to be frustrating for a Kentucky fan to have that many opportunities and not finish it off.
No, I agree 100%. I mean, because I was watching the game, especially at the end of the game. I mean, I honestly think they got screwed at the end of the game before the fumble. But, I mean, what can you do? You know, it is what it is. But, yeah, Kentucky had every chance to honestly win that game outright. But, you know.
Yeah.
It was tough.
But nice week for Sir Veza. Not in here to back it up. You as well, Nelly. You guys both have done well in these picks, but Sir Veza, that's a sparkly record.
That board looks real good, you know. I mean, honestly, the 17.5 Arkansas, I mean, had they not give up the plays at the end of the game, honestly, that could have hit. Yeah. And he easily could have been, 6-0 and really looking at us like we're, real peasants here. But
had they not shown up, then maybe
I'll tell you what, though, Baylor kind of looked like garbage, absolute trash for the first half of that game. They came alive in the third quarter. They put some points up, but honestly, like, I expected more out of Baylor, and honestly, Oklahoma State looks really good.
Man,
Oklahoma State looks really good, and watch out. I'm not going to say it, but they're in prime position right now, in my opinion. I think the Big 12's really open right now, like wide open. With Oklahoma looking the way they are, Texas, Texas is Texas right now. I mean, them putting out Baylor this early, I mean, TCU's looking good as well, but I mean, Oklahoma State right now is the class of the Big 12, in my opinion. So
yeah, and I mean, that's one of my talking points I'll get into a little more later. But Big 12, man, I mean, strong depth in the conference right now.
Yeah, I don't think they have a great team, but they got a bunch of good teams.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that 100%. But honestly,
still no defense in that conference, though. Sorry.
And I don't think there ever will be. We won't get to defense.
People like points.
Yeah, you'll never get to the defense in that conference. And Texas and Oklahoma moving to the SEC, maybe they'll learn how to play defense. They have to, or they won't survive. But I mean, they've got offensive-oriented schools moving into the Big 12. So I mean, it's just going to be a shootout conference. I'm not mad at it. It makes for entertaining games. I mean, just look at Pac-12 games. That's why I enjoy them so much, is because of how many points are put up. So, but yeah, honestly, man, that Clemson game, I know we were talking about Dabo earlier, but, shout out to the weather just not even making an appearance there, because Wednesday, like, if you go back and watch the clip, I'm like, yo, it's going to be a messy game. It's going to be a rainy game. It was great conditions. I tell you what, ESPN did a thing where they had Pat McAfee and his radio crew on ESPN2. Like simulcasting the game. Yeah. That was some entertaining shit. Pat McAfee is the man. But it was just so entertaining to watch them talk throughout the game and stuff like that. Honestly, I think like they have the Manning cast for Monday Night Football. I think they would be wise to do something like that for Saturday night games as well. Just because I think it's entertaining,
Yeah, that's starting to really catch on.
Yeah. I mean, I Clemson though for me, it was a nice win. And NC State, their offense just doesn't have it. I thought they would this year, but they don't. And credit Clemson, they showed up for that game. It was a great crowd. It was an electric atmosphere. Dabo was fired up. I never realized this, and maybe I'm ignorant, but I had no clue that they actually loaded up in the buses and drove to the top of the hill.
I
just
didn't
always
either.
assumed they walked up there like it was routed underneath the stadium. I had no clue they actually loaded up. First time like that I was like locked into that little GoPro that was in the in the buses watching those guys load up. I had no clue.
Imagine how uncomfortable they were, though. Like, I mean, you're all loading up on that bus. Like, McAfee and them were talking about, they were like, how uncomfortable does that have to be to get on a bus, to cram into that bus fully padded out, and then hop out, and you're just sitting there, and then you've got that, I don't even want to think about the incline on that hill, man. God bless. And Dabo just runs it like a soldier,
Awesome.
Yeah, like inside the bus, man, they should have it like a city bus because those offensive linemen, they sitting down, like how are they getting
standing up, holding on, going back and forth.
Yeah, no, 100%. That was crazy. Let me slide over from our picks to our locks.
That ECU was money, brother. That was big time. I
can't believe I cannot believe that I almost I was sweating that at some point in that game. It was 41-7 at half, and then at some point it was almost a 13-point game. South Florida was first and goal at the 4-yard line, got knocked out like going in. Thankfully, a good tackle, and then had a goal line stand, and then ended up finishing it out. But had they scored there, and it would have been a 13-point game. I texted some friends. I was like, because it wasn't a great betting day overall. But if I would have lost that one, the phone probably would have gone out the window. I couldn't believe the fact that game got as close as it did. But it was nice to hit that one.
So I got to know, Nelly, what were you thinking with over 51.5 in a Big Ten football game with Purdue and Minnesota?
It was, coming into the game, Minnesota had a top 5 offensive efficiency. They were slinging it all over the yard. Morgan, Abraham. I mean, it was just Purdue defensively is terrible. Somehow, some way, it was a Big Ten West game. I should have known better. Everything was feeling right. It was all leading to the point in the road. But at the end of the day, Big Ten West will always Big Ten West. And after I dropped that one on there, I wouldn't have been surprised if it ended 7-6.
I mean, it was damn near. It was 20-10. I mean, I don't know.
What do you have to say about your Aggies?
Oh, hold on. Let's simmer down. Hold on just a second. Hold on, okay? The -9 LSU, when I saw that Wednesday, I was like, he's got a lot of faith in the Jaden Daniels thing right now, which I get, coming from Arizona State, hey, that's fine.
Alumnus.
Yeah, I get the pick. Trust me, I get it. But I mean, I can't give LSU that many points unless they're literally playing a nobody. Like, I don't see that in that team. And the fact that they've crept back into the top 25 after beating Auburn by 4 points on the road, like, it makes me sick to my stomach. But, that was crazy. But A&M, God, look, all I'm going to say right this second is A&M's pathetic. That's all. That's all I'm going to say right now. Like I said, I've got some things for A&M here shortly, but that game, that defense, that was pathetic, man.
Did you see that quote by that recruit who's committed to Texas? What he said about between Texas and
I saw you shared that, yeah.
Yeah, it was, I mean, he's like, see, right now Texas has the scheme but not the players. The Aggies have the players but not the scheme. I mean, Jimbo's running like a wishbone offense out there or something, but that's cool.
I mean, I think the big issue with A&M, and if we're being 100% honest, is they don't have a quarterback. Like, they've got what's his face that came from LSU. I can't even think of his name. And then they've got King, who's a kid from Longview, Texas, right up the road. That, I mean, he's all right, but neither of those two quarterbacks are special enough, in my opinion, to compete in the SEC.
He said the true freshman's ready to roll. Jimbo's going to roll him out there this week.
Is he really? I'm not going to pay attention to the game, but Godspeed.
nothing like a true freshman getting his first ever start a couple weeks into the season against the Bama defense. Gotta love that.
Gotta love that.
Honestly, suit up some of the swole Yell leaders. Yo, the Yell leaders are psychos, man. There's no shot. Like, there's no way the Yell practices, just all that stuff. To me, that's real cult energy. Real cult energy. You know, and then when they used to do the whole like burning thing, the bonfire and stuff like that, like that's cult shit. You know?
Hey, they miss it, man. They're sad they can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you know, RIP to those people that died, but that's just that's just crazy. So, you know, I don't know. That's beyond me, man. That's beyond me. We're gonna move. Bandwagon jumping. All right, boys. I'm leading this off. I'm jumping so far away from the car crash that is Texas A&M football. I told you, I had it saved for a second. The team is abysmal. The offense is terrible. The defense is terrible. But my main concern, my main gripe is Jimbo Fisher. The message boards at A&M were absolutely on fire the last couple days. And some of the posts, I mean, I wish I could have saved some of them because the posts are insane. You know, the fact that if he gets fired, he's owed $100 million is just dumbfounding. We've got to work on these. I mean, we've got to work on these schools and these programs with these contracts, man, because that's asinine. And, you know, everybody talked all that shit about Kevin Sumlin. You know, Kevin Sumlin was a terrible coach. Kevin Sumlin was 51-26 in his tenure in A&M, 25-23 in the SEC. Jimbo right now is 37-16. 22-13, and there's literally 30 games difference between the two right now, or maybe 20-ish. I mean, why is Jimbo not getting run out of town? Is it the $100 million price tag that goes along with this? Like,
well, if you ask him, you know, there's no one in the country that could tell him that 2020 team wasn't the best team in the country. So, you know, he's hanging his hat on that. He's going to get to ride that out, that what if, for the rest of his career there in College Station. But good. Yeah, I mean, what job security? You know, no one's. I mean, eventually, I guess there's enough money in Texas to oust him, but 100 mil is pretty stiff.
Oh, I mean, if they're paying $25 million to their recruits this season, I mean, of course, you know, they've got the money to pay it off. And it's just the fact that, you know, you play Mississippi State, you give up 42 points, and now you're going on the road to Tuscaloosa at night. Godspeed, Jimbo Fisher. Godspeed.
And you know what's so funny is they've been so bad and they've underperformed expectations so much that, you know, in June this was like a game of the year candidate. You know, it was going to be this top 5 matchup, and you know, we had all that off season and all the things Jimbo said, and it got leaked, and Saban's remarks back, and it's like now everyone's forgotten that because Texas A&M sucks so much. So, you know, from that part, it's kind of a letdown. But I know Spen's got some comments on it.
Casey, that's fantastic.
I don't know that Saban would bring him in. I'll be honest at this point. after everything Jimbo said in the summer, you know, and you know, going back to that, Saban wasn't necessarily calling him out, like, personally. It was all about A&M's playing within the rules right now, but the rules are not correct. This is not how it was set up to be. Like this, there's got to be some kind of guidelines to keep a program, whether it be A&M or USC or, you know, North Dakota State, whoever, it doesn't matter. A&M was the example at the time because they were hanging their hat on a number 1 recruiting class. Mm-hmm. The whole point was, you know, you can't let a program spend this kind of money on kids that hadn't even played yet. Like the whole point is you're making money off of your performance, who you are on the campus, what you bring to the program, not just being guaranteed money to come to the school. So that was the whole point. And then Jimbo fired back with some personal insults about, you know, ask anybody that's been around him, and, you know, just kind of insinuated a bunch of stuff. So he kind of took it. I knew at the time he was very defensive, but now you fast forward 2 months and kind of look where we're sitting right now. And Jimbo has got to feel like he's got all the pressure in the world on him. I don't think his job's at stake right now, but you get blown out this week. There's not going to be, I don't know what they can do the rest of the way, like to really save this season if they lose this weekend and it's ugly. Maybe a win over, I don't know. I don't remember who they have out of the East this year, but, you know, maybe a win over Ole Miss is a nice win that can maybe propel you. But if you're really hanging your hat on beating Ole Miss is like a save your season game, things aren't in good shape. So I don't know. I think it doesn't surprise me kind of where we are, but I didn't think it'd be this bad. He's got to let his guys run. Like Nick Saban said it before, you got to let your horses run. Like you can't, you got these athletes, all the athletes in the world, ton of speed, like let them free. Don't try to constrain them with that old style offense that you run that doesn't work anymore. So, and maybe this could be the week they open it up, and who knows, maybe it's a ball game. I don't expect it to be, not with the personnel at quarterback right now, and they just have no confidence. But A&M can turn it on at some point, but yeah, there's too much money at stake in Aggie land. Something's got to give. When the season's over with. We're not paying that much to their players, or we're not paying that much to the coach. It's going to be one or the other.
Oh man.
Never mind. I'm not even going to get into that right now. That can be a later topic. But
all right, I'll jump in on the bandwagon here.
Go ahead.
So I have to. It's fitting that I have to say I'm off of NC State's bandwagon since I was on their bandwagon to start with. So I'm off their bandwagon obviously now. I think they're still a good team. I think their defense is legit, and they were fun to watch in that Clemson game. But their offense just doesn't have the playmakers. They just haven't got the running game going. So I'm gonna probably tear up my Devin Leary Heisman tickets at this point. I don't think there's any coming back. But I'm also on the bandwagon. I'll stay in the same game because I thought it was one of the more telling games of the weekend. Is DJ. I've said it for a couple of years. I didn't think he had it, but I think these last 2 weeks, and especially this game, he showed me that I think he does have enough to win a championship there. And there's a couple throws. I think he's playing smarter. He's not making any mistakes, but there's a couple throws like that pass along the sideline to Shipley that almost went in for a score. It was down at the 1 yard line. That was one of the most incredible plays of the weekend. Angles we had to see Shipley kind of determine his running lane down the sideline when the play broke down. But DJ, to see that the avenue there to throw it and to actually slot it in between those two defenders, I thought was as impressive as what Shipley did. So I don't know. Yeah. I'm on the bandwagon of Uyunglele now.
You know what? I was there at the beginning of the season, and then he just looked like shit for 2 games. And he hasn't moved much in the Heisman odds. I mean, if they keep ripping and roaring, maybe. But...
I don't think he'll put up the numbers for that. But he's not a game manager. He's like a step above. I guess he's a step or 2 above a game manager. He's not going to win them in the game, but he's got enough around him that if he just doesn't screw it up and makes a couple of plays, or over the course of the game, like he did in that game, a couple of big throws, a nice sneak, then he's going to do enough to win. But once they all get healthy on defense is kind of what I'm curious to see how it all comes together for Clemson. But right now, I mean, they've got as good a wins as anybody in the country. Yeah. I don't know that they're in that top. I don't know if they can compete with the very best yet, but I don't see any reason why you would argue that they can't right now. It's all opinion, but their wins right now are nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. That was DJ is actually a bandwagon I was hopping on too there, Spen. So I like where you're coming from. I mean, the last 2 weeks, and I think we talked about this last week, it's so rare to see a guy this late make like a step forward. Normally, after a season or two, you kind of are what you are. And I think there's a ceiling to it. So to your point, I think he can lead him to the playoff. Like, I think that's a reasonable like expectation or ceiling, if you will. I don't know at this point with what this team is that they can compete at that level. But I think, you get two of probably your toughest games of the season out of the way. Down the stretch, at Notre Dame, is that the game that we thought it was at the start of the year? Probably not. So, they're set up really well to kind of put it together. I think they get their, I can't remember his name. They get their DN back this week. So.
Yeah, I think they're gonna coast the rest of the way. I mean, Florida State's not going to give them a ball game. I don't think. Syracuse is good, but I don't think Syracuse will give them a ball game. It's going to be from this point forward probably a pretty nice little coast to the finish line, and then whoever comes out of the other side of that conference, I don't think is going to give much of a ball game either. I mean, it could be Duke and North Carolina competing next weekend for the divisional lead, and I think North Carolina's got some tools, and Drake May is maybe the big surprise of the year quarterback, but their defense can't stop anybody. So you can't bank on that. So Clemson's in a driver's seat right now.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see, you kind of look around the rest of the country of if, some of the other top conferences start cannibalizing each other and kind of see how it shakes out for the door being wide open for them. But I came away really impressed last week because I do think the NC State defense is elite. I think it's a top 10, top 15 unit in the country. So they were able to, they weren't carving them up, but they were doing enough to get it done. And one other quick bandwagon I'm jumping on is just the Big 12 in general. I don't think there's a playoff team in this conference. I think that's going to be really tough. Oklahoma State has the best shot at it, but I think that they're going to stumble somewhere along the way. But you look at the depth, over half the teams are ranked in the conference. I mean, that's incredible depth. You look even at the bottom, it's just a competitive league. It's really fun. Big 12 football is fun to watch. I'm excited about the Red River. What do we call it now? Red River Showdown?
The Red River. Yeah. Big 12 stock way up on them. I'm a believer. I'm hopping all the way onto it. It's a conference that's going to throw a couple teams into New Year's Six bowls. I'm excited to watch them.
Yeah, I don't think y'all should write off TCU just yet.
No.
I think they're at home against Oklahoma State. Their biggest game, Texas on the road. That's gonna be their toughest one. They got Baylor on the road too, back-to-back weeks. So they kind of finish off the year a little difficult, but I think TCU's got the firepower right now, especially on offense. To win that conference. Oklahoma State, look, it was a good win, but to me, they still haven't played. I mean, the Baylor outside of Baylor, they have not played anybody yet, really. So I'm withholding judgment until I don't remember who they have this weekend, but next weekend that TCU matchup, that's one that I'm going to care about a lot more. I'm not buying Oklahoma State just yet.
I am, and I'll tell you why.
Fair enough.
We gotta think, guys. Oklahoma State was literally one play away from making the playoff last year. One play. In the Big 12 championship game against Baylor, had they not screwed that up at the end of the game, Baylor, in my opinion, Oklahoma State was in the playoff. I think they were. And, that team, they brought most of the team back. Did I think they would still be this good? No. Because I thought last year was kind of like a fluke season for them. But, they're showing, honestly, that they're for real. And I know you guys are kind of, stepping back, pressing the brakes a little bit. But, maybe this
They've played Central Michigan, Arizona State. Shout out Sir Veza, your team was garbage. And he'll tell you that. And Arkansas Pine Bluff. Those were the 3 games before Baylor. So,
and that's
they haven't shown anything.
And that's fine. That's fine. But like I said, I'm just going back to what I saw last year. It's like I said, they brought back the quarterback, most of the offense. It's a decent team. That's all. That's all.
I'll give you that. I also think that now that you're on them, they might lose to Texas Tech this weekend.
Exactly.
Definitely possible.
Exactly. Who's to say I'm not playing games over here?
You could be. You're big braining it right now.
Yeah, I really no, but no lie though. I do give these teams kisses of death. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, that is my forte. I'm the kiss of death. Even in NFTs, like, I'm the kiss of death. If I sell something, it's going up 2 to 3x, 100% the same day.
That's funny.
It just happened yesterday. So I think that's
Yeah.
Oh yeah, TCU has Kansas this weekend. We'll get to that here in a little bit. So stay tuned there. We did have some Clemson love. We definitely were loving the Clemson.
But I think on them all season, so we had to give it back.
Yeah, no, for sure. But if you noticed in between, we didn't have we of course don't have our good friend Sir Veza here, and we don't have we didn't have our sad state of affairs yet. But he left us a video.
There we go.
And we're gonna roll to that.
KOD University, what is up? This is Sir Veza on Take 12, trying to bring you the sad from this past week in college football. Let's not waste a second. Let's start off right now. It's Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thursday. Let me look on my phone and see that there's no college football games tomorrow. That is terrible. That is sad. We all deserve it. We want college football on Thursday night. We want it on Friday night. We want it all day Saturday with no Aaron Judge interruptions. And we're not getting it. So I'm not sure who's in charge of it, if it's Elon Musk or somebody else, but let's get some college football games back on Thursday. By my count, this is at least 2, maybe 3. So for the lack of games on Thursday night, sad. Now let's go north of the border from where I am right now in Texas. Let's go to Oklahoma. The Sooners. Oh my gosh. TCU. Number one, I didn't expect TCU to be that good this season. They had 300 yards of offense within the first 20 minutes of the game last week. They were absolutely blowing out Oklahoma, and that's before Gabriel went down with one of the most brutal shots I've seen a quarterback take this season. I don't know. It's not a good start for Brent Venables. They're going to have to figure it out. They don't have much time because they have their biggest game of the year. Let's just go back south of that border, back into Texas. Let's get to Dallas, the Red River rivalry. Sad. How about this? The first time since 1998 that neither team is ranked. Sir Veza, he's a little sad. I was planning on getting on Sports Reference, checking out, finding out the last time both these teams had 2 losses coming into the game. I was thinking it was going to be 1994, 1986. How about 2016? Hasn't been that long. It wasn't that long ago that this game meant everything. 2 top 10 teams, 2 top 5 teams, Mac Brown, Bob Stoops. We've come a long way from there. And it's a little sad. I mean, this is a game that the whole college football landscape had their eyes on year after year. And right now, I don't know if anybody's going to give a hoot. Side note, Dicatrio, get your buns down to Dallas. One of the great scenes in all of college football. Born orange on one side, whatever color red the Sooners are on the other side. Just straight down the 50. It's a lot of fun. Eat something for me. Another thing that's kind of diminishing this game is both starting quarterbacks might be out. I'd have a hard time seeing Gabriel come back after that hit. This week, viewers, we will see. Let's move on to Wisconsin. I'm not going to be sad for Paul Chris. That guy is making a bunch of money to not have to work next week or the week after that or next year or probably for the next 5 years. I'm sure we'd all take the deal. Let's talk about the performance on the field. At home, down 14-10 at half. 0 points in the second half. 0 from Wisconsin. 2 rushing yards. That wasn't in the second half. That was in the whole game. That was from a team that we depend on to have one of the toughest rushing attacks year after year after year. Maybe it was time to get rid of Chris. He gave them 3 top 11 finishes. It's been some time. Maybe COVID slowed it down. Maybe they just needed, a fresh breath of air. They are coaching. But for Wisconsin, right now, the play on the field, sad, very sad. Let's come back into Texas. This is very Texas-centric. Let's get into my city of Houston, Texas, the Houston Cougars. I'm 3 miles down the street from TDECU Stadium, and I don't know if I'm going to go there this year because they just aren't playing that well. Listen, these games are compelling. They're tight. They've been close in their losses to Tech and Kansas, and now Tulane. Tulane that went on the road, beat Kansas State, went on the road, beat Houston, but I'm not liking what I'm seeing from this team. You've got a 20-year starting quarterback in Clayton Tune. He's not making plays. You got a coaching staff that doesn't look like they're in it enough. You're not making explosive plays. This is a team that I expect to expect. I expect them to expect for themselves to be a dominant football team, especially in this, non-Power 5 division. And they haven't shown it this year, whether they're just a little fat and happy from all the successes they've had. They thought it would come easy. Well, let me tell you what, not happening. Houston Cougars, sad, very sad. My Uncle Mike, he's sad. He's very sad. Finally, off of the field, I read a story this week that SMU has a bunch of players sitting out already so they can stay healthy, so they can transfer, so they can get NIL money. Number one, where are you transferring to? Are you going to Alabama? Are you going to LSU? Or are you going to Ohio State? They've got all this money for you. If not, what are you doing? You're staying healthy so you can go somewhere else. Listen, I get it. It doesn't always work out for guys. But I think this is going to be a bigger problem as the year goes on. Arizona State's got a couple twin cornerbacks that are doing the same thing. Allegedly, the article mentioned Houston. They mentioned Miami as some other teams that are going to have a problem. You know what? It's sad for your teammates that are out there working really hard and you just left them in the dust. It's sad for the fans that, have no say over anything. All we can do is come in and root you on, and you're not even there for the team. Coming off of saying this a bunch last week, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. I'm sure there's situations where some people need to get out, and that's fine, but I think it's going to get a bit much, so that's sad. And not sad news, it's going to be sad. I'm not here this weekend. I'm not here next week. I'm heading across the pond so I can say things like university and vacation and pasty and oi. And so I'm gonna have a great time, and maybe I'll be able to get a sad in next week. If not, I know the guys have y'all in great hands. And so from deep in the heart of Texas, give them hell.
Love it. Sad.
He is such a delight. He is, but it still means everything to me. Okay, Texas OU means everything to me. Okay,
I do love the comments on his video quality. That was a bit sad.
Yo, and I don't know if that was a filter or what, but I mean, honestly, I enjoyed the video quality because, I mean, not that many people film with potatoes in 2022, and Sir Veza does a fantastic job. His quality, sad, but, I love it. It's a great time, so.
I'll hop on that, then I'll add a couple here quickly to sad. There's a couple sad teams I could obviously hit on that I like to. I'm gonna focus my attention on New Mexico State this week. My goodness, I thought Jerry Kill had these guys going a little bit. I thought their offense was starting to show signs of life. They were at home. Florida International was coming in, a bad Florida International team that they traveled third straight game. They had a bye week in between. They were on the road. I thought it was such a bad spot for them. I like New Mexico State, and they went out and got beat 21-7 at home. Sad state of affairs for New Mexico. And then the other one, and then more big picture, is college coaching this season. Is a bit sad in the way that everybody's going about firing a new coach every single week. It's unprecedented to see what's happening. I mean, a Power 5 job is opening up seemingly every single week, and you look at what's happening. I don't know that it's going to slow down, right? And we know that Brian Harson's pretty much got his ticket punched. It's just a matter of when, it seems like. I think Scott Satterfield's probably not too far off in Louisville. One more bad loss might pull the trigger there. I know I'm missing a couple guys probably that are in the mix too. So I just think it's sad what's happened with coaching in terms of moving these guys out this early in the season, especially a guy like Paul Chryst, who had done a lot for that university. But I don't know. Maybe they have something else up their sleeve, but I don't know what else you can expect as a Wisconsin fan, but to win, bowl games every year and be in the mix for the Big Ten, like it's where you want to be. I know this season hasn't been what you wanted to, but man, it's been sad watching what's happening. But I'm not going to cry for him. As he pointed out, these guys are making plenty of money. They're getting paid to have this lack of job security, but it's just been sad to see it play out like this year.
I agree, and I'll add one to you as well. The state of Colorado. Between Colorado and Colorado State, they don't have a win. Those two teams are god-awful. I hate the fact that I lost it. I found a post earlier talking about the worst, 10 teams in college football, and I felt like that would have been a funny little graphic to show, but Hawaii still looks terrible. UMass still looks atrocious. New Mexico State looks horrible. It's just
UConn's coming out of it. UConn got a win over Fresno last week.
Yeah.
They're favorites. UConn is laying 5 points this week on the road.
Against who?
I believe it's FIU.
I mean, I got to look at this because that's actually wild. FIU, yeah. They're 5.5 now. The line has moved.
Again, the New Mexico State got beat 21-7 of this team that's getting points at home to UConn. So there's not much more you can add to that.
I love the fact that UMass is getting served up on a platter to Liberty this week. Liberty's favored 25 points on the road. So just wanted to hop back in and say the mullet is back this weekend. Let's go, Zach. Let's go. I'm not gonna lie. If Quinn comes and does some things, I might just cut the hair into a mullet and we might just be mullet brothers for real.
Look at you.
I mean, that's just where I'm at. It sounds like Nelly's having a couple of audio issues. So
sad.
Yeah, that's sad. We talk about potato Sir Veza. Nelly's got potato audio. So are you back? He is not sad. I was gonna wait for him because I feel like he might have had something to add, but if he did, we'll just catch him on the rebound. We'll catch him on the rebound. We're gonna move along to
All right, so I usually highlight a couple of my bets in this segment. Again, this is essentially bad beats, but nightmare covers. For me, I got a couple bets that I want to highlight. First off, I talked about it in the Discord. I liked Indiana getting points against Nebraska, and I liked Connor Bazelak to go over on his passing yards because they're going against one of the worst defenses against the pass in the country in Nebraska. Well, 21-21 at halftime. Bazelak had, I think, 150 so odd yards. He needed like 95 yards in the second half. In a tie ball game against one of the worst defenses in the country, in an offense that's going to throw the ball around all the time. Well, he proceeded to get like 60 yards. They didn't score a single point against Nebraska in the second half. Not a single point against Nebraska in the second half. And that bet fell short on both ends. So sorry for those that were tailing that bet, but still, I would probably do it again. But that was a very bad nightmare cover. The other one that I kind of like only because of the spot. Talked about it last week. Texas State and James Madison. Two good defenses. They actually got the rain out there. It was still raining. They couldn't even wipe the main game camera. It was just like all cloudy. They had to use like alternate angles the entire time. And two bets in this one. So when we saw that, we immediately hit the live under. Right out of the gates, it's like 51. So I took first half Texas State. I told you all I thought they'd come out flat. James Madison after the big win over App State. I didn't think they're a good team, but I didn't think they deserved to be a 23 touchdown favorite in their first conference game at home as a D1 team. Well, Texas State, my goodness, if you want to watch a bad football team, that offense was impossible to watch. I didn't think they would score a point. Well, they managed to not cover the first half, so I lost that one. They did manage to go in literally as time expired to push it over. Zeros on the clock, didn't kick the extra point. It didn't matter. It wasn't a ball game. It was like 44-13 or something. And they went in to score just to go over. So, again, nothing like losing a bet two ways. And I did it a couple times this weekend.
I mean, that's like one of those situations where, like, the last play of the game and, it's right there on the edge. And then the team that's running like the Hail Mary or the fumble Rooski or whatever fumbles the ball and the other team just walks into the end zone. I mean, I've never had that happen to me personally, but I just feel like that is pain in which I don't want to experience,
Yeah, it's not fun.
That's just, I actually didn't bet on any college football this weekend. I told y'all I was going to go wild and bet A&M. God, I'm glad I didn't because I'd have been even more heated than I was right now. Is Nelly back?
There we go. We're back.
Oh, let's go. We are back.
Apologies.
We are talking nightmare covers, Nelly. I know you had a couple that you wanted to throw in there. We were talking about the Texas State walk-off on the over and all that stuff. So,
man, well, perfect timing to get to relive two horrific bad beats. One depended on the line that you had. That'd be in the Michigan over-under. If you had the under the whole way, I saw it in some places at 40. There were 21 points scored in the last 2 minutes of that game. None of the points that mattered. Absolutely just crazy. With one of the worst offenses of all time. That one's a head scratcher. Iowa scores with seconds left, and that one's crazy. The one that broke my heart, though, was Georgia Tech under. Georgia Tech Pitt. That game was under all the way through. That one was – or I apologize. Georgia Tech over.
Okay.
That one was sitting pretty first half. There was actually scoring. It was moving up and down the field. And then the second half, absolutely nothing. And just two terrible teams. Pitt, talk about the season that they've had of getting it started right. Big win against their rivals. First time in years. Tennessee goes into their house, beats them, lose to whatever this Georgia Tech team is. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that was one of the worst losses of the weekend, probably. I mean, it's kind of what you thought you hope when you fire a coach. Like, I hope the team responds and like steps up, and they kind of did. But your Michigan team, and I don't think we touched on this really, but your Michigan team got you a little frustrated this weekend, huh?
Goodness gracious, man! It's it's one of those situations, and we saw it the previous week. We saw it this week. Is staking yourself to a lead and trying to be too conservative, going to turtle mode. If you look in the third quarter, or if you look in the second half, Iowa outgained Michigan this week. because we went to straight.
Brutal.
That's
we
terrible.
we just shut it down second half. I guess we were just trying to move on to next week. We're like, this offense can't do anything. Then lo and behold, you go so conservative that throw backwards pass, or JJ as he's getting hit, Donovan Edwards dives down at the 2. Iowa now has a 40-yard field. That's the best thing that could ever happen to an Iowa offense, is to not drive the whole field.
Right.
And then they get the mojo going. The nightmare that is Kinnick, the evil spirit that haunts that place for top 5 teams. They got it cooking a little bit, and they had a realistic shot of getting back into it. Thankfully Brian Ferentz is their offensive coordinator. On fourth down, throws a play that was both short of the sticks and committed offensive pass interference on 4th and 2, which I feel like has got to be the only time that's ever happened. But yeah, happy to get out of there. I'll take a win at Iowa any day of the week, especially in a cover. But man, it got a little dicey.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I was looking through some stuff a while ago, and it's wild that actually no, I want to point this out real quick because I don't have anything to add, so we're gonna move on to our top 25. But I had this stat pulled up, and it was I know that Sir Veza and you've been y'all definitely harped on the preseason team. The preseason rankings don't mean anything. So these teams are no longer ranked. Notre Dame, A&M, Oklahoma, Baylor, Michigan State, which they look pathetic, Miami, Pitt, Wisconsin, Arkansas, and Houston. Like, that's wild. The shake-up. I can't believe I'm sitting here talking about an LSU team that has creeped back into the top 25. Like, it's crazy to me to think that team, who honestly – I don't even think they're a 7-win team, but, somehow they've won 4 games already. Them being in the top 25. And, shout out to Syracuse. I haven't seen Syracuse in the top 25 in a little while. That's always nice to see. Of course, Kansas being 19. Absolutely amazing. It's –
Yeah. Look, LSU, they deserve the 25th spot. We'll see. I mean, they got big game this weekend, then Florida, then Ole Miss, and Alabama. That's their next 4. Then at Arkansas. So their next 5 are pretty brutal. But I mean, they deserve it. They win over Mississippi State. I think it's going to hold up pretty nicely. Now, whether or not Mississippi State should have closed that out and not gotten outscored 21-0 in the fourth quarter to lose that one, it's a different story. But yeah, they're there. I mean, I like it. Hey, look, beyond the top 5, it's a fresh poll this year, really. I mean, top to bottom almost. You look at some of those teams, and a lot of teams are back in that aren't there usually. Yeah, Kansas State in the top 20. I mean,
that's amazing.
Potential rivalry is amazing, and then you got some good potential rivalry games that are setting up in this with the rankings where they are. But I think this is a pretty good grasp of the top 25 at this point. Nothing really stands out to me too much. I think TCU is probably a little low at this point. I think Kansas is a little high, but they deserve to be where they are.
Yeah,
and I think Kentucky's that's a huge drop to go on the road against a top 10 team and basically have the game very, very winnable opportunity and drop 6 spots. I mean,
well, and it's just the nature of the poll to be knee-jerk reaction. You look at like Penn State. I feel like we've harped on them a couple times whenever they throw the rankings up, but I mean, 5 turnovers against Northwestern looked like garbage, and just because a couple teams in front of them lost, now they're a top 10 team. It'll be an interesting path. They come to Ann Arbor next week. That should be a pretty good game. Of course, it'll be the 8th straight big noon Saturday that's in Ann Arbor or Michigan's featured. I mean, that one's TCU is really, I mean, they've been pretty impressive out of the gate. They beat, of course, that SMU scuffling against UCF there, but I think TCU's got a pretty good resume and got a real good chance to show us what they are, especially this week.
Yeah. And I know you hate the SEC bias, but I'll just stick with it here. I mean, if you look at Utah, Oregon, and Kentucky's schedules this year and outcomes, don't you think a 1-loss Kentucky's a little bit stronger than what Utah and Oregon's done this year? I mean, Oregon's looked pretty good since that first game, but you can't forget about the first game, right? And Kentucky went on the road, had Ole Miss. I think a good Ole Miss team. They're It's a different Ole Miss team because they don't throw the ball around. It's a running team,
Yeah.
a defensive team. It's completely different than you're used to. But Ole Miss is a legit team that it's going to threaten in the West, and they'll have a chance to beat Alabama. I don't think they have the offense to do it, but that's a different story. But I just think Kentucky. I'm making it, a lot out of nothing here, but that's the only complaint I'd have.
I see that. I see where you're coming at for sure, but I'm glad that they don't have them ranked above Utah or Oregon. Once again, Utah should have won that damn game in the swamp. I'm sticking with that. They didn't.
Kentucky should have won on the road too.
They didn't, but
a bad Florida team.
I still think they're a better team than Kentucky at this moment in the season.
They probably are, but I'm just going off results. Yeah.
No, for sure. No, absolutely. Penn State on fraud alert. Not so fast, my friend.
Oh.
I don't think they're frauds. And it's funny because, if y'all watch this week 1, we were talking about Penn State. We were talking about Ohio State. The Halloween matchup in Penn State at night is looming. We'll see. We'll see. I don't necessarily think they're frauds.
Really good defense. I mean,
they have a great defense.
Phenomenal defense.
It's just, can they actually score and put points up? I think it's the big thing there.
And
I think
their coach. I mean, their Frames Janklin is the reason that they are not an elite program. He's going to find a way to lose a stupid game. He's going to kick a field goal up 1 or something like that against Ohio State. And anyway, sorry, I cut you off.
Well, they got a week to get prepared for your boys. So
yeah,
we'll see what they got next week.
No, for sure. I'm loving the UCLA love. UCLA plus 550 to win the Pac-12. Look, if they finish the season with 2 losses, 3 losses, I think this is huge momentum for Chip Kelly. But I think it's what he really needs. Like, honestly, with USC, Lincoln Riley is, he's trying to take that program back to the top. And, like I said, I mean, they're a great team, but UCLA,
Yeah, I'm glad they mentioned that. I actually see him plus 700 on another book. So
really,
that's a pretty big long shot. What do you think, Nelly, about Michigan being plus 500 to win the Big Ten? Do you think there's any value there?
Man, it's so tough to see from what we have seen so far in the calendar year. Obviously, those numbers are going to move a lot probably in the next couple of weeks, especially through October as we really see these top matchups. But Ohio State offensively is finding their groove. I mean, their backup running back had 5 touchdowns last week, opponent notwithstanding. But I think their offensively is just too good. The defense, Jim Knowles has got them playing at least we haven't seen them against an offense worth anything, but at least at a top 30 level. So, picking any of those, I don't know what Penn State number's at either. I don't trust them enough that one's probably like plus 1,200 or something. But, there's value there because I'm sure Ohio State is minus, what is Ohio State? Minus 450 or something insane. Minus
275.
Yeah. Because whoever wins the East is going to annihilate whoever's in the West. So really what you're saying is, hey, who's going to win?
Can they win the matchup?
Right.
Yeah, can they win the head-to-head? It's interesting, and I won't keep this too long, but I think these conference odds are interesting since they came up. The SEC, so Georgia's look beatable, right? And I think people keep talking about the weaknesses that Alabama have. The odds makers in the SEC, obviously Georgia and Alabama 1 and 2. Tennessee is 18-1 to win the SEC. 18-1. Ole Miss is 28-1. The SEC, okay?
Look,
top 10
those
team.
odds. Yes, think about that. That's
Hendon Hooker. I hopped on the bandwagon last week, and I'm going to talk about Hendon Hooker in Tennessee here shortly. But they got a shot, man. They have a shot.
I mean, they get Bama at home, and I don't know where the Georgia game is. So, if you think they can win one of those games, potentially, it's going to be hard to win both, obviously, and then beat that team again. So that's why Tennessee is such a long shot. But it kind of speaks to how what odds makers feel about Georgia and Alabama versus everybody else in that conference right now. And I think it's justified.
I mean, that's wild though. 18-1. So what's the next closest in the Big Ten then? Is it Penn State?
It's after Ohio State and Michigan, then you got Penn State at 9-1 and Minnesota at 12-1. So
that Minnesota number should be higher, I think. I mean, that's
at this point.
But you know what, though? That's the team that's going to come out of the other side. So
it's a 6-way tie in the West.
Yeah, no, I know. I saw that earlier, but I mean, I'm still going with Minnesota, and to win that side.
They've showed the most, but I mean, you want to talk about I don't know what the odds are to win the West, but Illinois would be something taking a look at. That's a really, really good defense and a rock solid offense. And there's in the Big Ten West, that's probably enough to win the division.
Yeah, I don't know if those odds are out there for divisions anymore, but let's go ahead and say ACC real quick too. I think if there's one good, like I hate laying minus 200, 250, but Clemson being minus 250 to win the ACC right now, I think is as good as you're going to get for an almost guaranteed victory. Miami and North Carolina are tied second odds wise at 9-1. Do you think Miami's giving them a game? And
yes.
Do you think North Carolina, they're going to score some points, but do you think North Carolina can slow that team down? Minus 250, it feels like that should be like 400 right now.
100%. But I tell you what, though, a North Carolina Clemson game, I feel like that's a 100-point game. I feel like that's a 100-point game. I'm still thinking Miami's going to win the ACC because I'm a psychopath. But that's just me. But the fact that they're 9-1, that just goes to show you the top heaviness that is Alabama and Georgia. I mean, it's bad.
Especially they own all the tiebreakers, so they're basically guaranteed to make the championship game at this point. Having beaten Wake and NC State,
right.
so
there's no way
they're already in there. And then whatever happens on the other side, you're guaranteed a shot at it. And minus 250 just seems like it's like, here, do you want some money, guys? If you're willing to wait for like a couple of months, here, just take the money.
While we're talking odds and we're talking stuff like that, I didn't want to go too deep into the Heisman because honestly, it's not. In my opinion, this year, like so far, there's not a clear-cut runaway with, Heisman contender right now. But do y'all know who has snuck in to the top 7 of the Heisman? Jalen Daniels of Kansas.
Who?
He is 30-1 right now. He's just behind Stetson Bennett, who is still 2,500. It's just... You've got Jalen Daniels, Adrian Martinez. You've got
Adrian Martinez.
Kansas. That's crazy. What is happening? It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
It's basically the 3 top quarterbacks to lose it at this point. Bryce is probably out of it because of the injury. We'll see. I mean, he's down to 10-1. I still don't think taking Bryce at 10-1 is a bad bet. I mean, if he stays healthy, he's still going to put up some pretty big numbers. They're going to rely on him to throw the ball around. But yeah, I mean, it's Stroud or Caleb essentially at this point. I mean, you can maybe look down the list if Stetson Bennett goes off. He's been throwing well. If he goes off and they run the table, I mean, maybe Blake Corum's a great story. If he continues to put up big numbers and they win, maybe he'll get a few extra votes. I don't know, but it is hard for running back. Adrian Martinez 16-1 does make me laugh. That is pretty funny.
Hendon Hooker, my friends. Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, 12-1.
Sling it around, man.
He'll have the stage to do it.
He does. And what's funny is I think that this week, he really starts that trajectory upward. But I still think it's Caleb Williams to lose. I know everybody's going to say CJ Stroud because, let's face it, the Big Ten's a cupcake league. No offense, Nelly, no offense. But, I don't know. This year's not one of those years where it's like, and I'm glad that it's not, just somebody running away with it, in early October.
Yeah.
So,
I see wide open.
Yeah, no, I think that makes the football season a little bit more enjoyable.
I mean, Stroud is plus 135, so he's essentially he's got a huge lead.
Yeah, no, it's 135, and then it goes to like 500 with Young still from FanDuel, and then 600 with Caleb Williams. And then, it definitely falls off a cliff there. But, that's just kind of, I don't know. But that's week 5. We're done with the past.
Let's go.
Ooh.
Hey, y'all know I like to move. So We're setting it up this week, guys. Go ahead, Ben. I'm sure you've got something here.
I've got a few things for you this week. I actually feel pretty good about the board this weekend. Didn't on first glance, but like after going through a few games, like I don't feel awful about it. So a few that I'm watching. Again, these are all lines that we like right now outside of our locks. These aren't like ones I'm locking in yet, but probably got a pretty good chance to, depending on kind of how it shakes out the rest of the week. So a couple I'm looking at. First, this Georgia-Auburn line. I mean, 30 points in this rivalry just is a ton. And I know Auburn is a train wreck, and Georgia's going to be focused on this game. But Auburn's offense, they haven't been bad. They've turned the ball over. They have not finished drives. They haven't scored like they need to, but they're not a bad offense. So I think they'll be able to score some points on Georgia. And they're physical defensively, as long as they haven't packed it in this year. And it seems like I haven't followed them as much week to week, but it just seems like, especially in the offseason, there's a lot of rallying behind Brian Harsin. So I don't feel like they're going to throw in the towel on him. 30 is just too much to me. If Auburn scores, now they could lose this game 50-7, sure. But I'm going to take Auburn getting 30 in a rivalry game any day. So that's one I like right now. Boise State -7.5 against Fresno. I think you might have heard this or not, Nelly, but Fresno lost to UConn. You probably saw that, right?
Yeah.
Bad, right?
Which is crazy.
So, and Jake Haener, the quarterback for Fresno State, really good quarterback. He was out. He got hurt in the USC game. I think he's already been ruled out for this game against Boise. He's their offense. Like, he's what makes them go. They had 187 yards of total offense against UConn last week. 187 total yards. So I don't know how they get it going against Boise. And look, if you watch that Boise game last week, that freshman quarterback is dynamic. He had over 100 yards rushing. Cutter stepped in there and took over the offense. Like, it feels like, I don't think this is like a one of the great Boise teams by any means, but I think they have some talent here. And I think like this can kind of be a jump start last week with this quarterback to make some plays with his legs. So they're -7.5. I just think Fresno's in a bad spot, and Boise's kind of finding themselves right now. I like that one as well. And then Ole Miss, I'm back on Ole Miss again. They got Vandy. Like, they're an 18-point favorite against Vandy. And this is another one of those games. And I understand Ole Miss has some games coming up. They're not going to show anything. They're coming off a tough game against Kentucky. But it's still Vandy, right? And Vandy's going to struggle to score against this defense. They can't stop the run very well. Ole Miss is going to gash them with their running game. And although Ole Miss is not going to throw the ball that much, they're not going to need to. The only big question here for me, which I'm not quite pulling the trigger yet on it, it's just, does Lane completely go vanilla here and just sit on the football? So maybe it ends up being a first half play of like, hopefully -9.5. You can get it 9.5. That'd be awesome. I'd even look first quarter here. If you can get first quarter 6.5, I'd be on that as well. It's not, if it was an early game, I might say, okay, maybe they come out flat. It's an afternoon, 4:00 Eastern game. So they have some time to kind of get into the day. I don't know. Maybe it's a bad spot, but Ole Miss is a much better team than Vandy, and it's only 18 points. It's kind of like that Georgia Tech game a few weeks ago when they were 17-point favorites against Georgia Tech. It just didn't make sense to me. This is another one that doesn't. So those are three that I'm looking at right now that I feel decent about. But again, once Saturday rolls around, we'll have some team totals. We'll do some first halves, some first quarters, and jump on it. But any of those guys which you talk me out of right now?
Well, we'll spend. I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing. I wrote down 4, and 2 of them were Ole Miss and Auburn there. So I'll tell you my other ones then. So we'll.
Oh, you're with me on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm with you. I just think that Vandy team is hapless. The good brethren SpendMyDollar last week said he loves fading bad defenses. I'm with you. That Vandy team is gonna get annihilated. Let's see, a couple of Maryland -3 against Purdue. This Maryland team is playing with a ton of confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, they're putting it together. This is a 9-win team, which is pretty incredible in the division, Big Ten East. They could knock off Penn State. I don't think that they can take down Ohio State, but I think they got a real shot at Penn State's up. But Maryland's coming into this. Purdue's fresh off that big win against Minnesota. I mean, they're such an up and down team. I like Maryland a lot there, -3. And then the Mizzou Florida over. This is nobody watched this game. Like if you're like, if you have it on like your 8th screen, this is going to be an ugly, nasty game. 54.5's a pretty low total. Really mediocre run defenses. Call whatever you will in Mizzou. They're scoring close to 30 a game, which for Mizzou is pretty rock solid. Florida's offensively putting up over 400 a game. I just think 54.5 is a low number. I like the over there.
I can't believe 54.5 is the line there. So I've got two. And I can't believe I'm saying the second one. So I'm gonna lead y'all in with my weekly South Carolina hate. Kentucky is playing South Carolina this weekend. Screw Spencer Rattler. Kentucky, you can get Kentucky as a 6-point favorite at home this weekend against South Carolina. I'm confused as what bettors are seeing with this South Carolina team to only be getting, to just 6 points. Is Kentucky that bad? I'm confused here. Like genuinely,
Ben wants him to be once in the top 10.
Ben, like that's my question. Like, how is this a 6-point game if Kentucky's at home? South Carolina's look terrible.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that too much. And South Carolina's got a little extra rest, right? They had a Thursday or Friday game last week. And they're basically coming off of 2 gimmies in Charlotte and that was my lock. Shout out my lock that failed me. And then South Carolina State. So they basically had 2 cakewalks. And I know everybody's thinking of that Georgia game. I definitely don't dislike that pick at all. I just think maybe just because of the spot where it's at with Kentucky coming in. And Will Levis he's a good quarterback, but he hasn't done a whole lot. Rodriguez looked good running the football last week. So, if I'm on a side there, I'm probably Kentucky. But that's the only thing I can think of is just the spot of where it is with both these teams coming in, but that is a small number.
It's, that was a weird one. And the other one I saw, I can't believe I'm going this route. Notre Dame, 3.5.
Oh, man.
BYU.
They're starting to look more competent. They went in there, the big win against North Carolina. The question isn't really their defenses. Can their offense have sustainable drives? That's a good question for BYU. They've been pretty up and down offensively too.
And let's be honest. 3.5, you could easily tease that down to 2.5. Honestly, you could tease that down to 2.5, and you wouldn't give up a ton of odds there. I don't know. I think Notre Dame's a decent team. I don't think they're a world beater, but I think they're better than BYU. So, that's another one I'd probably look.
I don't hate that one either. I might look under in that game potentially. BYU that win over Baylor, which I think Baylor probably should have won that game, right? Yeah. They put a Wyoming tight. Last week that Utah State game was not dominant in any fashion. Yeah. No. So they just had it's just been week after week after week for them. It's just kind of been a lot of work, it seems like, and that could kind of all come back and catch up to them at some point. And this could definitely kind of be that spot. That game's at Notre Dame, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a complete stay away from me because I don't know what to make of either one of these two teams. But again, if I'm picking a side, I'm with you on that one, Doc. I'd probably have to be on Notre Dame.
And I meant to bring this up a while ago when we were talking about the top 25, and it slipped my mind because I had it pulled up. 8 years ago today, we had 12 top 25 teams lose. Not saying it's going to happen this week, but this is about the time that, you start seeing those upsets. This is honestly the part of the season where it gets fun. Like college football really, really kicks into overdrive, and it really just, like that next level, they hit the next level. But yeah, no, that popped up on my memories today, and it was just, I was like, wow, that's perfect that popped in today. And so,
like all the games we're going through tonight, most of them, they're road favorites, right? Mm-hmm. It's like it sets up perfectly for that kind of weekend where it's just upset after upset after upset. It could definitely happen.
No, for sure. I think it's I think this is the best time of the year right here. Right here, getting into October. The weather's changing. I woke up this morning and it was like 50 something degrees. I'm like, man, it just my bones are starting to wake up a little bit because I'm one of those people. I hate the summer. Give me the cold, man. Give me the cold weather.
There we go.
That's the stuff I enjoy. So, we're just going to move it on at that. Boom, 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 boom.
Oh, yeah.
Boom. I really wanted to pick this game tonight. The what is that? The UCF game that's going on right now.
What's score on it?
SMU. It's 34-13. Midway through the fourth. So shout outs to the Knights of UCF. That was a 3.5
spread.
point. Yeah, the spread was 3.5, and it's definitely they're definitely putting some work in. It looks like
bounce
the under.
house.
It looks like the under of 65 definitely is probably going to end up being the play there. So
I got UCF and their team total over 33.5. So I'm off to a good start for the weekend. But that comes after taking Matt Stafford under rushing yards on Monday night. So that one was a real kick in the.
You know what's funny? I haven't won a college football parlay all year, but I won an NFL parlay this weekend, and I felt fucking fantastic.
Winning a parlay is a great feeling.
Oh,
it really is a great feeling.
Yeah.
And what's bad is I was feeling it, so I put a same game parlay in for last night or Monday night, and I don't know what I was thinking, but we ended up losing it. Casey, I got a question. What does this mean? This is the week that non-birthing people become non-birthing people. I'm going to need some clarification there because I don't know what it means, and honestly, it scares me to death. Usually we give you guys a Thursday or a Friday matchup. This week we didn't really find any, really that just jumped out at us because honestly, I feel like Saturday is it's
a good lineup.
Yeah, no, it's a good lineup of games, and we're going to start off with them damn cowbells at Mississippi State. They're giving 8.5 to Arkansas. I couldn't believe 8.5 here, but honestly, when is Mike Leach going to start getting some respect as a good college football coach?
I think he gets that.
But it's like I feel like his offenses never get enough credit. Like the air raid at Texas Tech was absolutely incredible. Like I loved every second of it. Or not Texas Tech, Washington
Texas
State.
Tech and then
Washington.
Washington.
Yeah. Okay, so so I'm not tripping.
Yeah,
Not tripping. But it's like he's got Mississippi State putting up numbers. And after they dogged Texas A&M this weekend, I mean, I don't know.
This is definitely his best team that he's had there. To say on that, I mean, I think as a play devil's advocate on the other side is he hasn't accomplished a ton so far. But
never does
Mississippi State's one of the toughest jobs in the country. I think is an insanely difficult division, not a historically dominant team, tough place to recruit to. I mean, to be able to win 8 games there is incredible, and you're able to see Dan Mullen propel that into a huge job. But I mean, he can't help but love the Pirate.
I love that. Mike Leach is a philosopher. Put him in a classroom. I'm going back to school.
What are y'all picking this weekend?
Man, this is my least confident pick on the table here. It looks like just like a wonky line to me. I don't know. The numbers don't super make sense to me. I guess Arkansas scuffled a little bit the past few weeks. Still have demonstrated the ability to be a pretty good offense. Like you mentioned, that pass defense is a nightmare. Going against Rodgers, slinging the rock around really makes me anxious. 8.5 just feels like a lot of points, so I don't feel good about it. I am taking the points.
I too am woo pick suing.
Wow.
Even though Mike Leach is great. Mike Leach he's great, but I think Arkansas maybe has a little fire under their ass this week, maybe.
I just feel like this is a bad spot for Arkansas because coming off of 2 tough games, right? The whole question is KJ Jefferson. Will he play this weekend? So Pittman said this week, quarterbacks have looked good in practice, but he said if guys can't practice, they can't play. Well, KJ Jefferson missed yesterday, and he wasn't at practice again today. So that's 2 straight days he hadn't practiced. They can't practice, they can't play. At this point, it looks like Jefferson's not playing. And then it's obviously a big drop-off from that point. Yeah. And then you look at the matchup. Look at Will Rogers going against that secondary right now.
Yeah.
Ask any Arkansas fan how many points you're going to give up this week. And they're probably going to tell you 45 or 50. Like there's no confidence in Little Rock or Fayetteville or anywhere in that state right now. It's going to be, I think it's going to be ugly potentially. The number seems big, but I think it's big because nobody expects. I think the feeling is Jefferson's not going to play. If he does play, maybe it changes things. But at this point, I like Arkansas I like Mississippi State, and I like them to score 40 points in this game. And as long as their defense shows up a little bit and they stay with it the entire game, and they're going to be at home, I mean, I could be clearly wrong on this, and I have been a lot on my picks, as you saw earlier in these games.
We both have.
I like Mississippi State a lot in this game.
Did KJ Jefferson get hurt? Am I missing something? Like at the end of the game, did something happen?
He's in concussion protocol right
now.
So.
Yeah.
Oh. I guess I didn't pay attention at the end of that game.
Lock him in for Arkansas. No, I mean, Arkansas. And look, with Mississippi State, they looked really good. But like you look at that LSU game, and there's always these certain time periods with Leach, like a quarter or a half or a game, where it's just like, what happened to that team? So at any point they could drop the ball. But I think Mississippi State's a pretty good team right now, and I think they're in a good spot with Arkansas kind of beat up. Not a lot of confidence coming in here, but Sam Pittman, he's great as an underdog. So. Take that for what it's worth.
I will. These games are out of sync. That's my fault. Florida State, NC State. NC State's laying 3.5. I told y'all last week, Florida State, they're upset. Their fairy tale season's done. I'm sticking with it again this week. I think they lose again this week. NC State's covering.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. To me, this is probably one that I'm not the least confident here, but this is one I'm not totally confident on. And to me, it's just like, can NC State rebound off of that game? That was their season. I mean, that literally was their season. They've been looking at that game forever. They win it, they're on. And the matchup's not great. State hasn't run the ball very well, and that's what they need to do against Florida State. But I think to me, they're the better team. They're at home. They still have a lot to play for. I mean, a 10-win season's a huge deal in Raleigh, right? Yeah. So, like, even having one loss, their championship dreams are gone. I don't think it matters. I'm taking the better team. I'm taking the better team at home. And 3.5, I mean, if they can just get the offense going a little bit, they could win this game by 2 scores. But I'll take NC State.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're all on the same page here. NC State, 15 points a game, 280 yards. I mean, phenomenal defense. Being at home, I mean, two big trends I looked at or I was reading is NC State is, in their last 6 games, 6-0 against the spread after a loss. And then all they do is cover against Florida State, 14-3 against the spread in the last 17 matchups. Wow. So I think they're in a good spot. I trust them more. I think Florida State's still figuring out what they are. It does make me a little anxious, the big come down from, like you mentioned, this huge emotional game they've been looking at for 12 months. But I just think that they're a little bit better, especially defensively.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, Casey, I get what you're saying. Definitely don't hate them because of a big loss. We'll see if the coaching's up to par there, because that makes sense. If the coaching gets them right, it could be a spot. But both these teams, this is going to be a statement for, one of these 2 teams. One's losing 2 straight, one's bouncing back.
I kind of hate it too. Bama plays at 8:00, or else I try to go down the road to Raleigh and try to catch that game, but I got to be locked in for Bama.
Honestly, though, I feel like this could be the week that you took the trip and not felt bad about it. I think this is the week.
You don't take any for granted, Doc. Don't take any for granted.
You're right, and I'm still trying to decide if I'm driving to Dallas this weekend or not. I was thinking about it. I'm not sure.
Pull the damn trigger, like Sir Veza said. Get your buns down.
There you go.
The rivalry.
Right, I can't believe it's October and we're talking about Kansas Jayhawk football
as the premier game of the weekend.
Yeah,
College game day in Lawrence, Kansas. Unbelievable.
That's cool, man. Well, it gives you hope that we can have a season like 2007 where just nothing makes sense and there's chaos all over the place and upsets left and right, similar to 15 years ago when they were last time they were relevant. To me, they're a great story. I really, really want to cheer and root for Kansas, but I love this TCU offense. I mean, it is so balanced. 550 yards a game is insane. I mean, Dugan is sick. I mean, now on the other side, Jalen Daniels, they both thrown for 11 touchdowns, but they spread it around on TCU. 4 different receivers have 10 plus receptions. That offense is fantastic. Going to be a lot of points in this one. Going to be a super fun game to watch, but I think TCU is the real deal, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think Kansas has answers.
I like that. I'm with you there. I don't have too much more to add than that. I love the story. It's been the best story all week. I think it's going to be a shootout. It's crazy though. TCU first nationally, over 8 yards per play. Damn. Kansas is 6th nationally with like 7 and change per play. So these two teams this year have gone up and down the field. So I'm hoping. I don't know what this total is. I don't remember checking it. But I'm hoping this game
68.5.
68. I'm hoping this game ends up like 45-38 in favor of TCU because that's who I'm going to be on. But I feel like this could be like back and forth, high scoring potential, like an old school like Big 12 clash, right? Where like you turn it on and it's we're in the 40s and like late third quarter potentially. I don't know if it'll go that way, but I can see it happening. But I like TCU. I just think they're a better team. Great story, but again, Kansas. They haven't played a whole lot, right? It's been great to win the games they have, but last week was not that inspiring, right? Outgained, doubled up in first downs by Iowa State. Like their offense wasn't moving last week, so I think TCU could potentially put it on them in this game.
Yeah, real quick, I think TCU beats the hell out of them. I think the fairy tale end is over. I think this is the kiss of death right here. TCU rolls. I'll probably be putting money on this game. Not even gonna lie to you.
Here we go.
Tennessee. Old Rocky Top going on the road to Death Valley. The real Death Valley, Casey. I just love to throw that jab in there. Wow. I hate LSU, but the real Death Valley is in Baton Rouge. I don't care. Debate a wall, There's a lot of LSU fans, a lot of people really pissed this isn't a night game, like really, really pissed off.
They got to get over it.
They do because Alabama A&M was the marquee game going into this year. I get it. LSU 11 a.m. kickoff. Them Cajuns are gonna be drunk as hell early.
It's gonna keep it rolling for the night before. They'll be all right.
It is, but I don't think it matters. I think Tennessee's about to walk in here and steamroll LSU. I really do. I really do think Tennessee is going to go in here. Hendon Hooker is going to have a statement game, and Baton Rouge is going to be drinking heavy tomorrow night. They're going to be drowning their sorrows.
Oh, man. Well, hey, I'll hop in after this. So conventional wisdom. So, like, if the University of Tennessee players were wearing a different jersey and looking at what they've done so far this year and what that offense looks like, I would be inclined to say this team could be a playoff contender. But you always have to put it through the lens of this is Tennessee, and it's hard to make that breakthrough from scuffling to actually believing to winning games that you should as a heavy favorite. And so that's it's tough for me in that spot with Tennessee, just because LSU is so good at home. I mean, you look at betting trends, they are 3-0 at home this year. They're 3-1 their last 4 games against top 10 teams at home. 5-0 as a home dog in their last 5 times that they've been underdogs at home. I mean, that's probably going back a little ways, but it's I don't know. They get 2.5 turnovers a game defensively. That's something Tennessee hasn't really done a lot this year. They've turned the ball over and put themselves behind the 8 ball, but I'm taking LSU on this one. I just think going on the road, it's a tough environment to win in. Tennessee could still win this game, but the hook is enticing to me. And so that's why I'm going to go with 3.5.
Yeah, this is probably the game that I'm A, least confident in, and B, probably most intrigued by. I think this game is going to tell us, I'm going to learn the most probably out of this matchup than any of them. And to like everything you said, Nelly. Like Tennessee has not won the spot before. They have not played as a favorite very well in a long time. On the other side, like you've dogged them, Doc, but LSU, like they've just Brian Kelly is just quietly like, sneaking his way around, snake in the grass.
With his
like,
fake Cajun accent and all that.
Yeah. Hey, boys, good to see you on this Saturday night. Like whatever. But they've shown up and he's gonna have his team to ready to play. Now I do understand like a noon kickoff Eastern is not going to be great for them. It's probably going to play to their detriment. But I just LSU's defense. I don't know if this gets into a bit of a scoring matchup, which it could. Total 65, so expecting some points. Like if it does get going, I feel like this got to be the edge to Tennessee with Hooker, with that offense. Like they're kind of going right now, and they've had the week off. They have a lot coming up, and I know they've already probably put in stuff for Bama next week, and they're looking ahead for that game. But this is a huge spot for them, and they've had an extra week to prepare for it. So I feel like they're going to be ready. I'm not confident in this pick at all, but I'm going with Tennessee.
And there we go. We're doing Texas OU last. Utah, UCLA, 4.5 points. This honestly, to me, this is an intriguing game. Does the UCLA Chip Kelly story continue? Or, does Utah really assert their dominance and, we move on? I mean, I'm taking Utah here, 4.5. I'm not confident in it at all. And that's crazy because I was the Utah guy coming into the season. I don't know. UCLA looks really good. And after beating Washington last week, I don't know. This is going to be a very interesting game, in my opinion. I think this game, I hate that it's a 2:30 kick or a 3:30 kick. I wish it would have been like the evening game, like the Pac-12 After Dark game. I feel like this is where this game really would thrive.
Yeah.
But, here we are, and, we have an afternoon kickoff for a Pac-12 game.
Yeah, I'd love to be settling in on this game at like 9 o'clock, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Bama's up 35-7, right, at halftime. We're looking for something else to watch. This is coming on. That's what I was hoping for. But this game is interesting to me because a week ago was not a huge believer in UCLA. But I think what's the big difference for me at this point, and I think you kind of touched on this earlier, Doc, is DTR has been playing really well. He had a great game last week, but he's been a guy that's been so up and down. He'll have some great games and look electric. Then he'll come back out, not throw for a lot, turn the ball over a ton. But this year he hadn't done that. He has not been turning the ball over hardly at all. I think he may have one interception so far. He's just been playing. Maybe it's just a senior. Maybe he's been around the program for a while. Whatever the reason is, it just seems up to this point he's a better all-around quarterback. You got him with Charbonnet back there running the ball. It's a great 1-2 punch. And then on Utah. So last week, great win. Oregon State, 42-16. Huge win. And it was.
Yeah.
But you look at the box score. They got outgained. Oregon State had more first downs in a 26-point defeat. They outgained them and moved the ball better than Utah did. It was 4 interceptions that was the difference. So I don't if UCLA protects the ball, right, and you don't give Utah these extra opportunities, this line though stinks to me. Like I can't get over the fact that it's 4.5 at UCLA. I'm going with the Bruins getting the points at home, but like the line to me makes me very uncomfortable with it. I don't know if I'd want to see Utah. This is more of like a pick, or UCLA a slight maybe right around a 1-point spread rather than 4.5. But I think UCLA, with everything they've done so far, can kind of put it together here and kind of maybe take control of this race a little bit.
I've got a question for you, Ben. Are you more confident in the line, or are you more confident that there will be over 15,000 people in the Rose Bowl?
I think they'll be over. I think they now know they have a football team there. So there's probably TMZ was probably outside the locker room, so now they know, hey, there's a football team. So
real quick, I just want to go over the broadcasting reasons as to why this game is here, guys, because it really just, I had to go look at it when we talked about this being an afternoon kick. So, by the way, the Pac-12 After Dark game of choice this week on ESPN is Oregon State at Stanford. Okay. So that's going to be your
game.
Pac-12 After Dark game. So this is
this an ABC game? I'm assuming?
No, so this is actually a Fox game. This is the Fox afternoon game. So why are we getting Washington State at USC after this game? Why is this game not the 6:30 game on Fox?
They're getting ready for Big Ten now. You know, the Big Ten Fox partnership, so they're already getting a head start on it.
Dude, just that's wild. So I'm assuming all the UCLA games, home games, you know, when they move to the when they move to the Big Ten are going to be, you know, 3:30 kickoffs. I would have to assume, because you're not going to have them kicking off at 9 a.m. So
I don't know how the picks work for that, Rice. Like, sorry, I've got ESPN up and an ad pops up, but I don't know what like the actual order they pick for those games. So I don't know if Fox had to pick this game earlier, because you would think this would be one they'd want in prime time over USC. Although USC moves the needle, right?
Oh,
so they're going to get eyes on USC no matter what. And maybe they had to pick this week ago, so like they kind of settled on it and picked USC, because that's still a good game. It's going to be a good game. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I wish this one was a little bit later in the day.
Yeah. No, that was wild. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, so I got Utah on this one. A couple different reasons on it. They're a top 5 point differential team. With, you know, they're both scoring over 40 a game. Utah defensively is holding them under 15 a game. So starting to round into form a little bit. You know, that Florida game overreaction week 1 to thinking Utah's terrible. Maybe they're starting to put it together. They also cover against UCLA, 5 straight covers against the spread against UCLA. I don't know. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. Cam Rising against DTR. That's a cool matchup. There's going to be a lot of games going on in Pac-12. Usually doesn't get the love that it deserves, but I'll be watching this one. I've
got to say, you've dropped a lot of dimes this week. Like your spread statistics have been on point this week, Nelly.
Ben always brings his A game, and he's always got everything that has me walking away believing I need to jump on his bet. So I had to bring a little more. I got to bring a little more information to the table.
I love the trends.
Yeah. All right.
Here we go.
Saturday morning. I'll tell you what, there's 2 reasons why I'm not thinking about going, okay? So Monday afternoon, okay, I'm looking at tickets. And there was tickets on the 45, maybe it was the 40, second row for $500. I was this close from pulling the trigger.
Second row is too close.
You think so?
Yeah, you gotta be at least 10 rows up. You miss so much being so close to the field. 45-yard line though.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, I was really looking at that and I was like, because I think it was like $345, but after the fees, like the StubHub fees and stuff like that, like why am I paying 50% markup for fees, you know? But then, you know, I really got to thinking about it, and it's an 11 a.m. kick. I have to drive 3 hours over there. There ain't no telling how long it's going to be, you know, how hard it's going to be for me to find a parking spot, because I've never went to the state fair or anything, you know, in Dallas. And it's like all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, that's kind of my deterrent right now. And there's so many other good games this weekend. And also, guys, my biggest thing is, so I've been to a World Series. I've watched the Chargers play. I've watched the Astros play several times. I have never seen my team win a game in person ever in my entire life.
Oh man, getting a little superstitious on it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's like
you're saying any team
that I like. I have never seen them win in person ever.
Oh man,
like I literally
feel bad for you, Doc.
Dude, I drove to Atlanta and watched the Astros lose in the rain last year.
You just got to go to like a Texas and like Texas versus UTEP or who's like that bad non-conference game. You got to get rid of that.
And you know what's crazy is in 2021, or no, was it 2020? 2020, I was going to drive to LSU and watch Texas play LSU because I thought, you know, that was going to be because I wanted to go to Austin and watch LSU play Texas, but then, you know, that didn't end up happening because I was pretty poor. But I was going to go to LSU because, you know, everybody I know, like my stepsister's a diehard LSU fan, and we've went to an LSU game. But it's like, man, I just don't want to spend another $500 to go to Dallas and watch Texas put up a stinker. The reason why I say that is because last year, completely different team, of course, but Caleb Williams comes in the second half for Oklahoma. We're up by 3 scores, and my heart was in my stomach in the fourth quarter because I knew the game was over. I knew Oklahoma was coming back. I knew they were going to win that game, and it made me sick. And it's just like, I don't want to experience that in person again, because I hope Quinn's back this week. I mean, I'm taking Texas, of course, because I hate OU. But, it's just I don't know, man.
So
This is
let
just
me ask you this, Doc.
Go ahead.
If you knew, if I guaranteed you a Texas victory, would you put down the $500 right now and make the trip? I said guaranteed. Texas wins. You going?
Probably.
Yeah, you got
Probably.
to. I mean, you have to see, and they're in great shape to do it. There's obviously no guarantees, but they're in great shape this week. But
I think so too.
Hey, we're all pulling for you now, Doc. I cannot believe you've not seen one of your teams win in person. That's I respect your fanhood.
Yeah.
Through all that.
And it's just like it's always been that way. So and it was like last year, I know we're talking baseball, but I went to Atlanta instead of going to Houston because of prior engagements. They won in Houston. Houston won.
Yeah.
I go to Atlanta and they lose. So, it's just like, man, I am just so over spending money.
You got to go to Give Me Victory. You have to make that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Just wash that off of you.
Yeah, I need to be cleansed. So yeah, you know what? I might just go to like a Texas ULM game or something.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what you need. That's right.
But yeah, no. Back on track. Enough of my depression. I think Texas wins if Quinn plays. If Quinn doesn't play, we very well might lose because I'm not sure. Because OU Texas, crazy things always happen. So,
what's the update on that? Has anybody come out? Are they keeping that pretty close to the chest?
Let me look. Because honestly, I haven't.
I think from like all indications, everybody seems to think he's going to play. So,
that's
I'm going into it expecting him to play.
Well, that's like on the flip side of the field. Like I know we got to pick it here tonight, but I'm on Oklahoma in this one. I think Texas wins, but I think it's going to be a tighter game if Dylan Gabriel plays. But that's the question of like we don't. I don't know where that stands on there. I don't know. This is going to be a fun game. It's crazy to me, kind of similar back to the Tennessee kind of line of thinking of being. They're almost a touchdown favorite against Oklahoma. Like that feels based on the last 10 years. Doesn't that sound crazy? So, it's a situation of, I think they can get a win out, but that just feels like a lot of points in a rivalry game.
So I thought you go to Texas too. So I'm on Oklahoma, and I'll say this: everybody, listen, Doc. I know I'm sending you to the game, and I'm picking Oklahoma, but I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm with Nelly on this. I don't know that they'll necessarily win, but here's my line of thinking. Everybody right now is on Texas, right? And there's a couple things in my mind. So let's say Ewers comes back. How good is he? Okay, I think he's got a ton of potential, right? But when we looked at him in week 1, like everybody's thinking right now that Bama 15 minutes he played and he was like lights out, right? But go back to week 1, like I think even Doc had concerns, like I don't know, like he didn't look that great. Everybody's buying into him being the savior, and he might be eventually, but we're all basing that off of a 15-minute performance against Alabama, right? That's it. And now he's hurt coming back in this huge spot. Great. He looked really good at home against Alabama, but this is a different game. This is a rivalry game, neutral site, more pressure. Everybody's like, you're expected to go out and win now. Whereas Alabama, you were expected to just try to go out there and cover, keep it close. Let's build on this. So I hope I'm proven wrong on that, but that's my stance on Ewers right now. Now on the other side, I don't think Gabriel plays. Like with everything going on with concussions, I don't know how you can bring him back in and feel comfortable with playing him. So if he doesn't play and Bevel plays, he didn't look good last week, but he didn't they talked about this week, like he didn't make turnovers. He made good decisions with the ball, and he came in the middle of the game in a tough spot. Like I'll forgive that for this week and give him a week of practice, a week of preparation to get ready for this game. I think he'll be better. I don't know if it'll be really good, but I think he'll be better. He has experience, came from Pitt. Like, he's got some experience playing in some bigger situations, not a ton, but a little bit. He's not completely fresh. So I think he'll be a little bit better there as well. And either way, this game has been within 8 points, 9 straight years. So it's gonna be a tight game, I think, regardless. And Doc, you said it, something always crazy happens in this game. I don't know what it's gonna be this year, but I'm going with Oklahoma for those reasons, because I was not completely sold on Ewers carrying this team to the promised land yet. But I did not know, and I've got to throw this in here before I get out of here, because if Bevel doesn't have a good game and Bevel gets pulled, do you know who's probably going to come in next for Oklahoma to play quarterback?
Booty.
General Booty. How is General Booty not the most well-known college football name out there? This guy has to just march around campus and just dominate. General Booty. And that's a real name. It's amazing.
Where was he before? Wasn't he somewhere in the SEC?
I've never heard the name before. So I don't know.
So what's funny with
there's probably been some. Lane Kiffin might have gone by General Booty at some point during his time somewhere in the SEC. I don't know.
So fun fact. So real quick, the Booty lineage, the Booty family is actually from Shreveport, Louisiana, which is right across the river from where I'm from.
Like John David Booty?
Yeah, John David's is
Josh.
His uncle Josh. He's Abram's son, the LSU wide receiver. So so he transferred
General,
to Oklahoma.
what a name.
Yeah. General transferred in from Tyler JUCO.
Yeah.
But let me tell you who I think the game changer in this game is actually going to be, because nobody's had an answer for him yet, is Xavier Worthy.
Oof.
Nobody has an answer for him. He is an absolute demon. Like, his speed is unreal. But you know what? Actually, though, I'd love to see General Booty come into this game now that you mention it, just because that would just, for me, would just that'd take the cake.
Twitter would lose it at that point.
Man.
So do I just look up family Booty on Google? I would advise against that. Google General Booty.
Every time I hear
don't want to do that.
Every time I hear Xavier Worthy's name, it's just a little bit of my heart dies. Committed to Michigan. Josh Gaddis, offensive coordinator at Miami, had some level of a relationship with Xavier Worthy's mom, and decommits from Michigan. Heads home to Texas.
I didn't know that's how that happened.
Heads home to Texas and is an All-American. So was going to go to Michigan. Breaks my heart. Glad to see him crushing it at Texas.
That's wild. Yeah, no, I had no clue. Here's our big board. If you guys want to take a look, if you guys want to trail anything, there's
fade my picks. Fade my picks.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Actually, I like this week. I got to be honest. This is the best I've felt probably out of all 6 weeks. So we'll see.
I can't believe you're like, I'm not guaranteeing you a Texas win, but I'm guaranteeing you a Texas win, and then he takes Oklahoma. Like, what kind of operation are you running over there?
How about Sir Veza rolling with Kansas? Did you see that?
And Florida State. He's a maniac. He's an absolute maniac.
He's been locked in all year, so.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we're on the wrong side.
Which means that he's probably going to get the job done. Yeah, if Texas don't cover with Gabriel out, for sure, Zach. We just touched on that. So here's our season locks. I should really be 4-1. Shout out to Spend My Dollar. You go find those games like the ECUs, the Liberties. I
got another one for you this week too, my friend.
I see that. I was looking at that and I was like, chef's kiss. You keep finding those real gems. I should be 4-1. I'm pretending like I bet the other side of A&M last week, but whatever. Locks of the week.
Oh my gosh, Sir Veza rolling with Duke. I love it.
I like that too. But I touched on it earlier in the show. I'm rocking with Kentucky to steamroll South Carolina. So, I touched on it earlier. I'm not going back into it. I got to know what's up with the Auburn 29.5.
I mean, Spend covered it really well, when he was talking through some of his picks or his night's conviction picks. But that spread is insane from what we have seen out of Georgia the past few weeks. It's the Deep South's oldest rivalry. It's a big game. I'm going to be at this game. So excited to Yeah, my wife and all her family are UGA alums, so going to go down there, tailgate. Athens is an awesome town to tailgate in, awesome town to party in. So going to hang out there, go to the game. Georgia has been turning the ball over. I mean, you saw it out in Missouri. I just think 30 points is crazy. Harsin feels like he's got the gift of Gus Malzahn, like the ghost of him that finds a way to win these games, or he's not going to win this game, but keeps games competitive when he's about to be fired. So I just, that spread was crazy to me, to see 29.5. So that feels like a home run.
You know, the more I'm thinking about it, Harsin's been so bad in the second half. Have you seen like the stats?
Yeah,
recently?
It was
I don't
great.
know.
Last 8 games, he's either scored 0 or 3 points in the second half.
Yeah. So like against Power 5 teams, I think it was. So like it's been a disaster. So maybe the play is actually first half. I like the full game, but like now they're like thinking about it, maybe it is go in and look at the first half, see if you can get them. I mean, if you can get them 17 points in the first half, it's either going to be like it's either going to be 55-3 or it's going to be like 35-17, right? It's going to be a tighter game, or it's going to be a complete destruction. So I'm leaning on your side. Like I think like it's just too many points right now. And Georgia's still pretty banged up. They're getting a couple guys back, but they're still pretty banged up overall. And they're coming off some tough game, like just physical games. So I don't know. I like the pick though. I wish we had a video for Sir Veza's Duke picks. I'd love to hear him justify putting money on Duke. But I'll give you my UAB pick in the meantime. So Blazers have lost a couple games, lost to Rice last week. Not a great loss, but a couple things for UAB. So they have the best defense in the league. They match up well with Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee slings the ball around. UAB's got a great secondary. They're going to be able to stop the pass. They also have a really good running game. They should be able to gash, I think, Middle Tennessee, get some big yardage, put up some points. They've been really good at home. UAB has really good covering the spread at home. I don't have the trend numbers exactly, Nelly. You might have them in your pocket because you've been pulling them out all night. But like they've been spot on at home this year, or not even this year, like the last 5 years covering at home. But when I look at like what you have to do to stop Middle Tennessee, they're going to throw the ball a ton. Like look at what UAB go through their game by game, see what they've done against the pass. You know, one that stands out is Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern threw the ball 50 times for 200 yards. Like that's been a lot of what they've seen this year. They've been able to slow down their opponents through the air, which is where Middle Tennessee strives. Now, a couple other aspects of this that I like. It's homecoming with UAB. This is what they've partnered with this nonprofit locally around Birmingham called Children's Harbor, where the Children's Harbor brings in kids that are, I think, sick and need a place to like get away, and like it's on the lake. It's a really cool experience for them. So they actually put the kids' names on their back. So they have like 90 something kids that they actually represent. The names on their back. They wear it for the jersey. It's been like a 5 or 6 year tradition now at UAB. So that game's going on. But the other stat that's really good too, that kind of backs all this up, and this is an action stat, shout out Action Network. But in the last 5 years, UAB's gone 10-0 against the spread following a loss when they've been at home. So there's your trend. Wow. They haven't lost at home following a loss, and they've covered those games by almost a touchdown. So I just think overall it's a good matchup. All these other kind of external factors kind of play into, but UAB at home, give me them at 9. I bet it gets to 10 before the weekend. Who knows? But we'll hop on one more favorite this weekend and go with the Blazers.
Hey, fresh off the Blue Raiders playing the Good Doctors ACC champion Miami Hurricanes.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. They lost. I think they lost last week. I forgot who they were playing, but
yeah, they did.
But you're still kind of like Middle Tennessee. You're still that's the other kind of spot. You're kind of buying. Yeah. You're kind of buying UAB low and like selling Middle Tennessee State still a little bit high off of what they've done. So I think it's a great spot. I hope like UAB can kind of pull it together, but the Middle Tennessee, I don't think that Miami game is such a fluke. I think, they gave up 45 points last week and almost 600 yards to UTSA. So I think that's more of who they are. So.
But UTSA is a decent team too, though.
No, they
honestly.
Are. They are not.
Because they gave Texas hell for 3 quarters. So I mean, no, looking at that because I started looking at stuff like that, like when you started talking about it, and Cunningham slings the ball around, so this will be a very interesting game. But I mean, the numbers don't lie. Like, I mean, you sitting there, you're giving out all these numbers. and it's, kids weekend. I mean, this is just one of those weeks where UAB should go out and win by 3 scores, and then we come in on next Wednesday.
I hope so.
And then you're the savior of the locks.
That's right. That's right. Hey, you want to make any money, you just got to tail spend, man.
Yeah, tail is locks. So
yeah, just the locks. Just the locks.
Yeah, which, I mean, honestly, our lock picks haven't been bad. We're all above 500, right? Yeah, no, I'm sorry, survey.
Oh, there we go. That's where we get our revenge.
That's where we get our revenge, because he's killing us the other way. He's killing us on the picks, but we've got him on the locks. So, y'all got any closing remarks y'all want to nail down before we head on out?
I don't personally. It's been a fun show. I can't believe we're almost halfway through the football season. At least it feels like we're getting pretty close. Once this week's done, we're kind of closing in on those first playoff rankings. But I just think this weekend could be electric in terms of upsets and just close games. Once you get into conference season, you're getting into October. It's when crazy stuff happens, and there's so many favorites on the road this weekend that something's bound to give. So I'm ready. I'm buckled up, and get in the Discord. Make it happen.
Yeah, man,
I love hanging out in the Discord.
Discord on Saturdays is awesome. Like Spen said last week, I wake up to a Sir Veza early morning pick, and I go to sleep to an 11:30 kick under. It's a thing of beauty. It's a ton of fun in there. Good to mess around with everybody, especially now that we're starting to get rivalry games, get a little chippiness going in there. It's a fun place to be.
Yeah, shout out SoBet too for being in there too. McNasty was in there last weekend.
Yeah, that's right.
I love the fact that I've got $300 to play with now.
Let's go.
Yeah, we've got some money to play with because I deposited.
Going to the Texas-Oklahoma game, right? That's what we're using that money.
What's funny is I thought that's what I was going to use that for. But, guys, I just think there's a lot of good college football games on this weekend. I think I'm honestly just going to stay home and just enjoy the weekend. I've got an empty house this weekend. It's quiet. I'll just hang out with the pups. And, literally I'll wake up. I might even wake up and just smoke a steak. Like, that's the first thing I'm going to do. Throw some jerky and a steak on the smoker.
There we go.
And, just have a good, chill weekend. I might even go get some beer and enjoy some ultras. So, might just have myself a guys weekend. So, I can't wait.
Beyond. Who knows?
Hey,
might not time.
You just never know. I just, buckle up, guys, because this is when college football gets fun. I don't have anything else. We'll see y'all next week. I think there might be a slight time change next week. I don't know.
9 or 9:30.
Yeah, 9:30. I'm digging it either way. So
I love 9 o'clock.
Yeah, this was nice.
Shout out Sir Veza. Good. We'll miss you this
shout
week.
out. Right. We're gonna get you a better potato, buddy. I promise. Y'all have a good evening. We're out.